Welcome back to Hillbilly Pillars. I'm doing this post as a response to another great share in the vinyl community that The Long Cut did. Chris broke down his top 25 albums of this century, and I couldn't hang with that. That's a little too many for me to do, but I started putting together my 10 favorite, and I had so many thoughts I was starting to type out a reply on his post on YouTube. I was like, I got so many thoughts about this. I'll just make my own video. So, as always, Chris with The Long Cut does great stuff, and I thought it was a real cool video. He had a lot of stuff that I hadn't heard, which that's the first thing. Is I'm a list junkie, even though I know it's kind of dumb, and I'm just firmly believe that favorites is way better metric than trying to do best. Best is hard anyway. It's like I just know there's so much stuff I haven't heard, which like Chris's video proved that it's hard for me to say this was best or anything like that. So I kind of prefer favorites, and I think it makes for more interesting list. And that includes Chris. He had some real cool stuff, some stuff I'm going to need to hear because I haven't heard yet. So on my list, I'm going to start with number 10, and that is Emotionalism by the Avett Brothers. This one kind of came out of left field on me. Being mostly stuck in older music myself, the boys, if you're familiar with them, the Avett Brothers, it just has so much heart, and it was so honest. I can see how some people might be turned off. It almost might be cringy, but this album to me definitely is my favorite of theirs, and it just really kicks my butt from front to back. There's a lot of tracks. The Weight of Lies, Shame, Selena, one of their Pretty Girl songs. I got a lot of those, Pretty Girls from San Diego. It just comes with just a real honest, heartfelt gut punch. That was something that maybe I thought was kind of lost. It feels like that's a hard thing to do anymore and to get across well. And I just believe these guys. And I really was like in a kick where that's like all I listened to for a while. Now this one's kind of interesting. I think y'all probably know this experience. It's one that I don't return to as often as others. But when I thought in the scope of favorites it was just so dominant for such a long period of time that I felt like I had to include it. So, number 10 is Emotionalism. Number 9, 16 by Robbie Fulks. I feel a little like Chris on this one. This may be one folks aren't familiar with. Stalwart alt country folk with a bluegrass background guy, Robbie Fulks, did a passion project that was released on vinyl only, Go Vinyl Community, in which he covered in its entirety the 1978 Bob Dylan album Street Legal, which just happens to be my all-time favorite record. It is a really cool, interesting take on that album. And what I loved is then he made a couple of posts. Robbie's a great writer. He has like a great whatever Substack or whatever he posts on. It's really interesting read usually. And his approach was that it wasn't necessarily that he had the love affair with Street Legal like I did, but more of the whole thing was just an ode to the power that records can have over you, which is something in this community I think we can all relate to. I just want to read the back what he wrote. He said, "The record is called 16. Though it's not a tribute to Street Legal, that Bob Dylan record is the source of the songs here. Back in the 70s, 12-inch LPs were the common currency. Mostly rock, white guys with claims on art and meaning. But you could often follow the trails outward to country, gospel, R&B, and so on. I had an intense relationship with the records. Like a lot of teenagers, I'd save my money, travel a good distance to a store that had perhaps 2,000 records, choose a couple, and go home and play them until memorized. Scarcity and mystery. And the artist played into them. Certain ones seemed to invite you to connect with them spiritually. They adopted interesting masks. Their recordings were replete with quirks, mistakes, eccentricities, whoop, holes you could fill in yourself. Eventually, you own the music, since you were one of its creators. So here to Robbie's ode to vinyl records and 16. I love it. I do return to it often. I love it. It's such a cool addition to my record collection. The next one, and this was another interesting subject that I would actually love to see my favorite vinyl community vloggers do a post about, and that is the record that you can't believe does not exist on vinyl. To me, I feel like I've got the correct answer on that. Someone else may prove me wrong, but this record I just can't believe. I assume it eventually has to be coming, but that is Time the Revelator by Gillian Welch. It is Gillian and Dave's certified, like, harkening back to that old-timey vibe that she carries in a really authentic way. And just the nature of it. It cries out to be a vinyl release. I mean, I dreamed the highway was just going to be one side, which is really cool. So, you know, that's going to be one of those. It would be hard to price me out of the range for when they do that. But Time the Revelator is just an incredible record. Chris had a Gillian Welch record on his list, if you go check that out. But yeah, I love it. And that would be my selection for the one album I just can't believe isn't on vinyl. The next one. I just got to see this band in the last year perform it in its entirety. And that is the Flaming Lips Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robots. For my taste, this is an outlier kind of in my music collection. It's so cool, and it's such a great album. You know, it's like, I think, you know, Wayne Coyne, the lead guy, would argue about it being a concept record, but, you know, I think it is, and it just is complete within itself. The storytelling and the music and everything is so wonderful, and that opening to the opening song, Fight Test, the test begins. No. It just immediately puts you into the place of this. And it is like, not to get too cliche, but like a spaceship journey into the fight of Yoshimi versus those evil-natured robots. So yeah, what was that? That was number 7, Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robots. And now, my guy's coming in with not his last appearance, but I have Rough and Rowdy Ways by Bob Dylan. In the middle of COVID, he released his longest recorded song, Murder Most Foul, and then followed up with this gem of a record that any artist with his kind of seniority to back an album like this as much as he has for over, it's got to be 3 to 4 years now. If you've gone to see Bob Dylan, he has nearly done this album in its totality. Usually Murder Most Foul he has not played. It's the only song he will not do. And yeah, I just love it. I just love this record. It's cool. It distanced itself from the trilogy of albums, the Latter Day trilogy that folks know him for, and to come out with this after all of that, classic songbook, Sinatra, 5 LPs worth of those to something this unique and original was, once again, Bob doing what he does and being remarkable. The one thing I will say about this is it's an interesting thought for me in this album-loving world is, it's kind of a thing amongst the Bob community. Do you consider Murder Most Foul a track on the album, or is it an additional, is it like a plus bonus? Because that affects it to me, but then again, I don't know if it does, because the flow of it's a little off if that's the last track. But then, it's epic. Like, it's not just long. To me, it's epic and great. And so I think it could both add and detract from the album if you include it as the final one, which I've decided I do. There is like some classifications in it. This is getting really nerdy, where it like listed as a separate thing. But if you consider Murder Most Foul the last song on the record, then maybe you're with me. Rough and Rowdy Ways. All right. Now we're getting to number 5. I get like Chris where he said all these could be number 1. I think we're at the point now for me, as far as my favorites, this could be number 1. And just is growing. It's like if you had the chart, this is the biggest riser. I could see it end up being in my all-time favorites, top 10. And that is St. Cloud by Waxahachie. Beauty, guts, just heartfelt truth. Her voice, which is very unique, and it just cuts through the layers of any doubt about how it feels like she is speaking her truth to you through these songs. And maybe the second side dips a little for me, maybe a little, but the side A here is an absolute monster. St. Cloud by Waxahachie. It's a critic darling for a reason. I freaking love this record. All right, you got 4 left. All right, being the Hillbilly Pillars channel, we have Coulter Wall, Songs of the Plains. I, like most people, discovered my man here, the Canadian baritone Coulter Wall, through an insanely great YouTube clip of him doing a couple of tracks from his self-titled album, which for my taste, that eponymous release by Coulter Wall, maybe that side A is the best songwriting side record, of the last 25 years. Just remarkable. But this standing out favorite, this one right here, just look at it. It calls back to that classic country cover vibe. So it's really echoing that the same way these are like, you would have a write-up from like a radio DJ or something on the back, like on those Buck Owens records, like that. And there was something about when I saw it and everything, I was not into vinyl records. I had never been. It just wasn't something that didn't call out to me or appeal to me until I saw this. I saw his performance on YouTube, and then I read news that he was coming out with an album, and I saw this cover, and I was like, there's something about that, man. I have to hear that on vinyl records. So I went out, bought a record player just so I could listen to this. So many dollars later, it's Coulter Wall's fault. But outside of just that influence, it's such a great record. It is quiet and dark, and just incredible songwriting. Just elite songwriting. And yeah, so I got Coulter Wall, Songs of the Plains. He motivated me. I had never been to the Ryman. I've been to a lot of shows, but I had never been there. And was like in his like fan club thing, and got tickets right when they went on sale, and got front row seats to the first time he headlined the Ryman. Like met his dad and stuff in the audience. And that was really cool. Stayed at Dolly Parton themed hotel there, the Graduate. And yeah, man, deeply influential album, and it's got to be when the mood's right. It's one of those albums, but nothing else will do when it is. So, Songs of the Plains, Coulter Wall. Getting that country, y'all. Okay, one that I feel like at the time was well regarded and hyped, and then it's gotten kind of forgotten, but I haven't forgot it. Post-War by M. Ward. This is... to me, it's one of those, like, people are like, about any of the, like, these top 25 lists, you'll keep seeing a lot of the same ones, like Yankee Hotel Foxtrot, and which I love, but, like, to me, this is just inarguably great. It's just really cool sound. My brother jokes, he calls it M-Wardium, and he just got everything right on this record. From front to back, it all flows together. Some of the brief tracks have, like, these Roy Orbison flourishes to them. Just what a freaking great record. And it was like the way I discovered it was like I would do end of the year best of list, and I would kind of go through and I would pick out 4 or 5 records that kept coming up on those lists of publications I like Paste and that type of thing. And this was one of those. I remember it was this year as this and the December's Crane Wife, which also I carry with me. I really like that record too. But This one, man, I don't know. Like I said, it seems to have dropped out, and folks don't talk about it much anymore. But this is a fantastic record. That's number 3, and that means we are getting down to the last 2, and this is where the gap happens and the big jump happens. Love and Theft. I say this with all of the preposterousness that this can coincide with, but this could be Bob Dylan's best record, going back to best. I think it's the album he's always wanted to make. The first time he was his own producer, as Jack Frost, the pseudonym he used. And it trips through these genres. And man, there's a couple of tracks on here. Summer Days and Lonesome Day Blues. That is the toughest and punchiest recorded Bob Dylan songs have ever sounded. Lonesome Day Blues just pops off the record and comes at you, and it's ready to fight. And it is just full of 20s to 30s blues guy swagger. I mean, look at you better bring it if you're going to have that kind of pencil thin mustache, right? And man, my man Bob does. It's impossible. A lot of people know the lore about it being released on 9/11. There's no way. There's no way the guy that, did like a Rolling Stone and It's All Over Now, Baby Blue, released this album in the year 2001. And that leaves number 1. Once again, going back to the Bob well, and that's Modern Times. Boy. It is just right for me. This is that interesting thing where you're talking about best or favorite. I would argue that Love and Theft is a better record, but this is my favorite. I adore it. Spirit on the Water and the way it floats through with that old kind of 40s melody. And the blues songs on here just kind of drive it along. Sometimes those can be a miss on Latter Day Bob records, or kind of like a breather. I feel that way about a couple on Time Out of Mind, Million Miles, and Dirt Road Blues. I love them, but they're kind of like, okay, you have held your breath. Now I'm going to leave you standing in the doorway crying, or whatever he's going to punch you with, or, But these, they don't do that for me. They just keep working. Ain't Talking, the discussed, underrated Bob closer. He ends the album with the line, "In the last outback at the world's end." The troubadour, man. And yeah, I mean, I could go on and on about Bob, as I've been known to do, but Modern Times for our Modern Last 25 Years list is my favorite album. Thanks